Have you ever looked at all the gear musicians use and wonder, how does it all work? My name's Dustin, and my family and I are setting out on a quest to inspire both adult and kid musicians to create new sounds together and learn all about what it takes to produce great music. We'd like to invite you along on the journey as we explore the gear professional studios, musicians, and hobbyists use to create their art. We'll take a close-up look at the gear and ask,
what's this button do?
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of What's This Button Do? I'm your host Dustin, and today we are going to be continuing our little series on the Beach Boys collaboration pedals recently with Keeley, Chris Benson, and Josh from JHS. Today we're going to cover probably the pedal that's gotten the most questions about it, the California Girls by Robert Keeley. Now this is a 12-string emulator pedal. And I've seen the chatter all over the forums. We've seen a few demos out there. There's not a lot of them out there right now. But the number one question everybody's been asking is, does it really sound like a 12-string? What's this thing sound like? Is it really useful? And of all the pedals in the series, it definitely seems to be the one that people are like, I'm not sure if I'm going to get this one or not. So I thought we would deep dive into it, compare it to a real 12-string, and see what it sounds like. So join me over the pedal board. Let's take a listen. All right, everyone. For today's episode, we're going to get into some interesting things. We're going to start off with a Dan Electro 12-string electric here. This is one of my favorite little 12 strings. I think it sounds amazing. They're super inexpensive, and they're an absolute blast to play. So what I thought we would do today is I have got my trusty looper down below me. We're going to record a little loop of a real 12-string playing with no other effects on or anything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over and grab my 6-string Asher that's got that kind of piezo pickup, so it's got a little bit more of an acoustic-y tone to it. And we're going to use it with the California Girls, and we're going to figure out exactly how close this can sound to a 12-string so you can hear it. So I thought first what we'll do is we're going to turn on my 12-string, and I'm just going to let you hear what a 12-string sounds like, and we're going to record this as a little loop. Cool? So let's play that back on the looper. Perfect. Now I'm going to switch guitars to the Asher. We're going to turn on the California Girls and see how close we can get. All right, now we have our trusty Asher. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the California Girls. Now first, I'll do my usual. I'll walk you guys through what everything does. It's actually a very simple pedal. So you have a blend knob, a chorus knob, and your rate knob. So right now we're in the 12-string mode. We can tell because there's a bright light here. If we hit X2, that when the light dims down, it takes us to the chorus mode. So we're going to just stay in the 12-string for right now. I'll let you hear chorus here in a little bit. But essentially what you've got is a blend knob. So if we're over on the far left over here, all you're hearing is just my dry signal from my guitar. If I bring this all the way up into the wet, you'll hear the full mix. I'm going to leave it in the wet for a second just so we can hear. The chorus part of things, first of all, there's a little bit of an echo here. Now this echo switch that's right there, what that is something that Robert designed into here to give a very short delay, because when you're plucking the strings on a 12-string, you're of course plucking 2 strings. Well, it takes a microsecond for you to be able to actually pluck that second string right after it. So by putting this in there, you can hear that when I flip it over, flip it down, regular. It's almost imperceptible, but it creates a just micro delay in that second octave coming in there to make it sound like you're hitting 2 strings. It's a really clever thing, and this is something that a lot of 12-string emulators up to this point have not done, and it's noticeable. Like, there is no delay there, so that is pretty neat. Now, if we increase the chorus amount, you'll hear things start getting more warbly. And if we increase the rate on that chorus, you can speed it up. And it can get like almost to an aquatic vibration. Super interesting. And if we turn the 12-string mode off, it's a nice little chorus on its own. It sounds really good, and especially if we pull things back a little bit, pull the rate back a little bit, maybe the blend just a bit, you can really... see a beautiful chorus on its own, but when we add in that little bit of extra harmonic, pretty neat, huh? So I do like that sound. I think it is fun. I like to back off the blend just a little bit, and if we turn the chorus down all the way, or not all the way, but to about that 8 to 9 o'clock range, and same with the rate, it's a lot less over the top. Cool. But let's kind of take it up to that middle ground. We'll go around to the 12 o'clock setting. We'll go to the full on version, and let's compare that to the actual 12 string sound. So if you remember, here's my original 12 string recording. Now let's do the same thing here. Now once you listen closely there, especially when I get to these higher strings, listen as I pluck them. I'm going to go a little slower. You can kind of hear that little chorus swirling in the background, and it gives it an octave sound. That one, especially on the G string. You'll notice that octave, it sounds just a little bit digital. I can tell. There's a little of that swirly in there, but it sounds a little crisp and digital to me. It doesn't have that analogy like on an old Memory Man or on an old like analog chorus, how it kind of had that natural warble to it. You can definitely hear the digital aspect of that. But again, keep in mind, I'm playing this with nothing else and I'm being real picky listening to specific notes. You're not going to hear that in a mix. Versus... again, this is the thing. It's close. It's not quite there. Let's bring the blend back just a little bit. Let's bring this up. Let's do the original 12 string. That's pretty darn close to the 12 string sound. Like it's a noticeable difference, but I gotta say it does a pretty good job of emulating that sound. And when you're playing like full on chords, like that has the air of a 12 string. I could see that completely passing live without throwing anybody in the audience off, and you're not going to have to carry around a 12 string with you. That's pretty stinking cool. Okay, now I think what we'll do is we're going to see how this stands out in a mix, and especially if I put a little overdrive into it. Let's hear what that does to the sound. I'm just going to play a little D riff here, and we'll loop it. All right, so we got that loop. Now let's take that loop, we're gonna play it, and then I'm gonna record a lead line over the top of that, just something real simple, without the California Girls on, And then I'm going to turn the California Girls on in the middle of the lead line, and let's see what that does to the tone of the sound. And I'm even going to put on my Mjolnir. It's kind of a Klon drive circuit from Mythos in front of that too, so we get a nice tone. So here's what my lead's going to sound like. Okay, that's the clean. So let's play that along with our loop, and then in the middle of it, I'll switch to the California Girls. California Girls on. Do you hear that? Take it back off again. I think that captured it perfectly. You heard just adding in a little bit of that California Girls on the back end on that lead line, that made a world of difference. It literally brought it out of the mix, gave it a little bit of movement and a little creamier sound. It almost reminds me of, you know how The Cure always played through Roland jazz choruses? It kind of gives it a little bit of that Cure tone where you get that little bit of movement in the clean notes. Even though there's not a lot of drive on them, you feel like there's something happening there to those notes, enriching them and bringing them out in the mix. And I gotta say, the California Girls does that in spades. I would think anybody looking for that Roland jazz chorus sound that doesn't have one, and I don't have a jazz chorus here, always wanted to get one. I think I can achieve that with the California Girls. And forgetting the 12-string thing, that's just a really, really cool choral effect that really makes you stand out in a mix. Okay, I hope that was able to capture all the sounds that I wanted you to hear. This is a super interesting pedal. Does it sound like a real 12-string? Yes and no. I think there is a balance there. I still don't think there's any true replication of a real 12-string. I think you could hear that in there, especially strumming notes. There's just a fullness and a richness that happens there when you've got a 12-string. And in the room, I could tell you from sitting right here, absolutely not. It does not sound like a full-on 12-string in the room. However, I hope you could hear that when you're recording. It's not the same. The recordings never come across exactly like they are in the room. And I will say, this got pretty darn close in some of those rhythm lines. When you've got it in a mix with stuff, there's not a lot of difference from certain lines of 12 strings, especially in the like solo runs and when you're playing some individual notes. I think it's very, very passable. And I think you could use it if you don't have a 12 string and you need something to simulate that. And especially in a live environment where you're playing with a band and you just need a 12 string for one part, you don't want to have to haul a 12 string around. Absolutely. I think this would give you some of that feel and that sound without having to lug around another guitar. So I can definitely say yes to that. Now, few little things, I think I pointed them out in the video. The digital artifacts in there are different. It's not like my favorite thing in the world. However, that is me being picky, and it's also me listening to it individually when nothing else is playing. In a mix, no one's ever going to hear those digital artifacts, so I don't think that really matters. That is a nitpicky pedal guy thing. So please, 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 for any of you musicians out there, do not let that deter you from picking up this pedal if you need a good 12-string emulator. I don't want it to do that. But I will say the thing that blew me away on this is just the chorus itself. I think this is just a great make betterer pedal. And I think that little simulation where we put on the drum track and we just, or not the drum track, sorry, we put on the little loop and we were just jamming around just to see how it would sound. I hope you noticed that just turning the pedal on and off, you do stand out. It brings you out in the mix, that little bit of movement in the feel. Forget trying to sound like a 12 string, just as an enhancer to tone on lead lines in a mix. I think there is beauty, beauty, beauty in this pedal. And that's why I kind of think as an enhancer, I'm going to be using it on a lot of recordings just to make things sound a little bit better and to get a little bit more movement into your sound. I think that's where this really shines. So I wholeheartedly would recommend it. And that's saying a lot because when I first got this pedal, it's taken me a week to actually figure it out and really get to like it. When I first plugged it in, I was like, well, this doesn't sound like a 12 string. Like, not my thing. Like, I was really disappointed in it. But after playing with it a little bit and really feeling it out, I'm more and more impressed every day with what this can do. It is different. It is not a true 12 string replacement, but I do think there is a lot of potential with this pedal. And I think what they've done with digital emulation here, I'm really impressed with Robert Keeley and his team. They did a great job, and they're not paying me to say that. I got no skin in this game. I literally bought this pedal with my own money, and I was just curious about this series and I wanted to see how it went, so checked it out. Well, as always, thanks for joining me. I hope this helped. If you have questions, if you want me to play with this with some different ideas, please comment in the links below. I'm going to be taking some of these this summer and shooting some little Instagram videos with them, trying them with different things. So anything you'd like to hear me play with this, please comment down below and I'll make that happen over on our Instagram channel. Next week, join us back for the next part in this series. We're going to be taking a look. I think you might have noticed it behind me in this video for the first time. We have a Benson Surfs Up, and we're going to be shooting that out against my Milkman harmonic trim just to see how it sounds and if it lives up to the surf hype. So please join me back here then again next week. And as always, I'd like to thank my friends over at Palen for having me out and hosting the show. We so appreciate it. Please, if you get a chance, give them a like. Go out there, take a look at their website. They've got a lot of new really cool gear on there. So please go give them a take. All right, well, thank you so much for coming out this week. Can't wait to see you next week. Take care and have a wonderful week.